AskReddit by That Stoic. In your opinion, what is the best book of all time and why? Slaughterhouse-Five. No other book has influenced the way I view the world to the same degree. It helps that I read it at a formative 17 years old the first time. Amen. Only a book I've ever read 4 times. Such a brilliant meditation on the nature of life and death. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Fantastic book. Such an American classic. When I went to law school it was because I pictured being like Atticus Finch. East of Eden. I'm going to type this out without googling first just to see how much of a fool I can make myself look. Back in the mid-90s I want to say there was a movie that would come on HBO that I would watch just for the boobs, as any other young teenager would do. Besides the boobs all I can remember is Rosie O'Donnell for some reason, maybe Dan Aykroyd? On a sex island and I swear it was called that or something similar. Is this the East of Eden you speak of? Thinking Fast and Slow Daniel Kahneman. Written in the 1990s, this book helps us to think critically and spot our own cognitive biases and those around us. We all have things we think because it is easier. As an example, you see a car accident in an intersection. A month later you see a second car accident at the same intersection. You now think accidents always happen at that intersection. You forget that there were weeks when there were no accidents. A bias has been formed though, which could be hard to break. If we are not aware of this behavior and how to keep it in check, then little things build and can create an epidemic of believing misinformation because it fits our biases. Agree. It very profoundly influenced my whole way of thinking, of making decisions and how I react to the world around me. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Reading this book as a kid laid the foundation for my entire sense of humor. It's just innocent, smart, fun. Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. Really captures the adventure nature of kids in the vernacular of the early 1800s. Mark Twain is the greatest American humorist of all time. And Huck Finn is definitely his best work. In my opinion, Crime and Punishment is best book I have read so far. The story deals with thought-provoking ethical problems at the same time not being dull at all. This book changed my view on good, evil and burden of morality. Although I did not quite like the ending, the character arc of the protagonist from start to end was intriguing. Yeah, I think a lot of people would argue for something by Dostoevsky. Though I think Brothers Karamazov is better. Catch-22. Funniest ever. Animal Farm because the message is applicable to the previous and the current state of politics and the animals can talk. Can't disagree. Man's Search for Meaning. I don't feel appropriate to give it a traditional rating. It's an experience that requires multiple readings, listenings, audiobook, and lots of reflection to truly get the most out of it. The book 1984, when written science fiction, and now getting realer and more realistic day by day. Stephen King The Stand. Because it's such a huge memorable book and it made me feel things. Overall, Kant Critique of Pure Reason. Fiction, Kundera The Unbearable Lightness of Being. Non-fiction, Hawking A Brief History of Time. What genre? Science fiction, Ender's Game. American Lit, To Kill Mockingbird. Ender's Game is fun, but I would hardly call it the best sci-fi out there. Rendezvous with Rama and 2001 by Clark or Foundation by Asimov are objectively better books. Red Storm Rising by Tom Clancy. Clancy's early stuff is great. My favs were Clear and Present Danger and Hunt for Red October. Honorable mention to Patriot Games and Cardinal of the Kremlin. The Alchemist. All Creatures Great and Small. JavaScripts for Dummies. Very useful. The Eye of Minds by James Dashner. Story fked me up as a 12-year-old cause it challenged my ideas of reality and made me scared of everything. Phew, imho. Hyperion Cantos Stormlight Archives Night Watch, from Pratchett in the Lonsium October the end of MRY? Hard for me to really pick one. With so many genres and changes in taste throughout history, I mostly reject the premise that any one book is the best of all. But with that caveat, I think Don Quixote has to be in the conversation considering how well it has stood the test of time. The Stranger by Camus. The writing style is incredibly simplistic but corresponds to the feeling and thought of the main character. It's a great book but OMG so depressing, which is kinda the point with nihilism, but still, I have to read something ridiculously funny after The Stranger. Crime and Punishment. Lord of the Rings. The Picture of Dorian Gray Oscar Wilde.